Welcome to Świątniki Górne. Together with Victoria, I will try to show you around the tourist attraction of my town. As a child, I lived surrounded by old pre-war houses. Today, there is no trace of them.
History passes quickly. Why have tourist attractions survived to these days? After all, Świątniki Górne is not tourist town.
We can admire them today because the local inhabitants who remember those events are doing their best to ensure that history is not forgotten. My grandmother used to tell me a lot of stories from that time.
Okay, let's go! First attraction is Kopytko. It is located forest in the border of the town. Can you tell us something about it?
Yes, it is an attraction dating back to the time of Queen Jadwiga. Legend has it that Queen Jadwiga, riding to Wawel, stopped on this hill to see Kraków. Her horse at the time bounced its hoof on this rock.
I have heard that there was also a well in the forest. It is true?
Yes, the well had clean water and the past residents took water from it for tea, to which they added liqueur. It was called Świątnicka tea.
I wonder how it tastes. Now let's go to the church. For centuries, the inhabitants Świątniki Górne often connected with Wawel Cathedral. They watched over it, and pilgrims cleaned it and served masses.
In 1880, the inhabitants received a gift of a black neo-Gothic altar made of black oak from the Kraków chapter. In 1905, two Baroque altars were brought from Wawel Cathedral. The first depicts Jesus crucified against the backdrop of Jerusalem.
The second showed the Virgin Mary. Now we find ourselves in a place called the Lev Forest. What is the place?
It is a former cemetery where locals who died of cholera and Russian soldiers were buried. The name comes from the trees that grave here.
Wow, this place has a terrible. about it, and it was established in 2007 and is located in the former War Hospital. It is true?
Yes, the museum has now 2 rooms showing the former occupation of the inhabitants. We can admire padlocks, hussar armor, portraits and various photographs from the time.
The gate in front of the museum is worth nothing.
Such used to be made in świątniki.
Okay, we are left with one more attraction in the form of a statue.
Yes, it is a memorial to the fallen residents who fought in various wars during the First and Second World Wars and the Napoleonic Wars. It is called Monument to the Son of this Land.
It is also the venue for the 11 November celebration, when the representative orchestra of the town and municipality of Świątniki Górne plays.
Yes, it is true. I play in it myself for a few years, but have to give it up for health reasons. I will show you pictures. Now we are going to the Krakow.
Much later.
The main square is often the heart of the whole city.
Today is not different in the case of our hero, Kraków Main Square. Not many main square can compete with it in the size, and in common opinion, also in terms of attraction and beauty. Krakow's main square, full of buzz and color, has always attracted tourists. So let's try to learn a little more about it.
This area is about 40,000 square meters.
So let's go explore this hack area. The Florian Gates is the main entrance to the old Krakow.
It was an entrance to the city and in fact a military building. Currently, it is one of the most famous monuments of Krakow. It has the form of a defensive tower. Her 34 meters silhouette races picturesquely between the Barbican and the beginning of Florianska Street. It was first mentioned about its founding in 37.
Victoria, you know what? I think we forgot about something.
About what?
And here's the Barbican, called by many Saspin, is the one of the most valuable monuments of Kraków. It is also one of the few preserved works of defensive architecture of this type in Europe. Built in the 15th century in the Gothic style, it was connected by the so-called neck with the Florian Gate and surrounded by a deep moat with a system of bridges and sluices. Welcome in the main square in Kraków. Currently, life at the main square has woken up because it is time for the Christmas markets. The oldest and probably the most famous Christmas market in Poland, which takes place in the magical scenery of the main square. Kraków Christmas Fair, because that is what they are officially called.
It is also also worth mentioning the Krakow Nativity Scene competition, which is the competition for the most beautiful Krakow nativity scene, an annual competition organized by the Historical Museum of the City of Krakow, in which Krakow nativity scene makers compete for prizes in several age categories.
Another showcase of the city, a Gothic church, traditionally composed of 3 naves and completely not standard, from 2 angle towers.
The higher measures 82 meters and is called Henalika. The lower is 69 meters. Legend says that 2 brothers were hired to building the towers. When the tower of the older brother began to surpass the second tower, the younger brother decides to get rid of the rival. He murdered him with a knife, which we can still see today in the gate of the cloth hall. Eventually, the younger brother could not live with the crime and committed suicide by throwing himself from the tower. This is not the only tragedy associated with the North Tower. A more well-known legend concerns a Krakow trumpeter. He was the guardian of the tower, and his task was to alert approaching danger. When he once saw the Tatars approaching the city gates, he began to play a bugle call, known to us today as Hejno Mariacki. The melody broke off in the place where the trumpeter was pierced with in a row. In memory of the event, every day at every full hour, State Mary bugle call is played from the tower. It also breaks off in a characteristic way. Walking around the Krakow market square, you will certainly hear it more than once.
Visiting St. Mary's Church is the mandatory point of the trip. The interior, height within, itself priceless treasures and your attention especially deserves the huge, richly decorated Baroque altar of Witstwoch, one of the most recognizable altars in Poland.
And for the ones willing to climb and see the precious view, recommend climbing the tower.
Since we are already here, it would be a sin not to mention to Cloth Hall, don't you think?
Of course, let's go! Welcome to the central building of Krakow. This is main market square.
This is one of the most recognizable buildings in Krakow. It is worth knowing that the name Sukiennice comes from cloth, of the basic goods that could be purchased here. The Sukiennice underwent many changes over the centuries, and their current shape does not resemble the old cloth halls. The image of the Sukiennice during the German occupation was placed on banknotes with a denomination of 50 zlotys issued by the Issue Bank Poland. Nowadays, in the Sukiennice, there are 2 rows of stalls, mainly with jewelry, souvenirs, or handicrafts. Currently, on the first floor of the Sukiennice, there is a gallery of Polish painting and sculpture of the 19th century. It is a branch of the National Museum. On the ground floor of the Sukiennice, there is also the famous Noworolski Cafe.
Alright, see you already. Told so much about this place. Let me say more about this heart. For a short climate change, we recommended you to go underground. There you will discover a large piece
of the city's history. The exposition you will find there is related to trade and everyday life of former residents. There will be no shortage of coins, tolls, figurines, medallions, and other trifles. The exhibition is enriched with projections in special cinema halls.
I think we already said so much about this place.
I think so too. It's time to go outside.
Back to the fresh air, again with the possibility of a high climb. This time you can go up the Gothic Town Hall Tower.
This time you can go up the Gothic Town Hall Tower, the only remnant of the Town Hall, the former administrative building of Krakow. The tower does not surpass Heinalika because it is 70 meters, but it is enough to admire the beautiful panorama of the city. While going inside, you can get the closer look at the clock mechanism, a characteristic element of the tower. What's interesting, not only the summit is worth our attention, it is also worth taking an interest in the basement. There is the stage under the town hall belonging to the Ludowy Theatre. Perhaps it is worth combining sightseeing with some play.
The monument is one of the Instagram places in Kraków.
When you'd like to take a break from admiring the architecture or look for inspiration for a family photo, look for Eros Head. Eros Bendato is the work of a Polish artist Igor Mitoraj. Eros is the Greek god of love and passion. Bendato, translated from Italian, means shackled, enslaved. We leave the interpretation to the viewers.
Okay, now let's go Monument Adam Mickiewicz. Another important point on the map of the Kraków.
Krakowians call the monument Adaś. It is often a meeting point for people who meet on the main square. Before the final exam, students jump around the monument on one leg as many times as the percentage results they want to get from the exam.
Compared to the surrounding buildings, the church seems quite small.
However, his charm cannot be denied. It represents the Baroque style. In its place, according to the legend, Santa Albert I preached sermons. The interior of the church differs significantly from the interior of the neighboring Santa Mary's Church.
Now, let's go to the restaurant and drink something.
Known also under the name Zwys, it is one of the most recognizable bars in Kraków. Behind his fame stands no one other than his regular visitor Piotr Krzynicki. He even had his own monument sitting at the entrance to the bar. The place still attracts people of art. Let this be confirmed by the presence of a comic book in this place, illustrating the life of its regulars.
and Dushan soldiers were buried. Przyjadą.
A few moments later.
I się zrobi ten i nawet na ten.
1 hour later. 2 hours later. 3 hours later. The next day.
A skończyłeś zdanie, nie? No to idealnie.
A dobra, jeszcze raz przeczytam. Tak,
No. In the town.
Tam jest tak,
No ja też jeszcze nie pamiętam. Jezu. Patrzę na ciebie i widzę twoją minę taką.
Dobra, jeszcze raz. The monument is one of...
Figure. Often people have been connected with other cathedral, they watch it over it through the pilgrims, communities and sacrifice. W razie czego?
To będą wcale nie ujęte.
W razie czego? Tak.
Now, let's go to the restaurant and drink something.